Hi, I'm Brittany. I am the registered and licensed dietitian at the Fitness Institute of Texas at the University of Texas at Austin. Today we're going to be talking about metabolism, a really hot topic, especially for people out of their 20s, because it seems as we age, our metabolism doesn't seem to be as much our friend as it used to be. So let's see, is it working for or against you? Let's remember the basics. Calories in, calories out. If they're equal, you're going to maintain the current weight that you are at. If you're eating more calories than you are burning, you're going to gain weight. If you're eating less calories than burning, you're going to lose weight. So it really comes down to this whole thing of calorie balance. However, I think there might be some other factors coming into play. Let's think about these. Hormones, for example. If you've ever met someone that has a hypothyroid condition, means their thyroid is not working as efficiently as it should. This hormone plays into your metabolism big time. And if it's not in check, you're going to really struggle with your weight management and weight loss goals. Stress. Stress throws your hormones off. Again, can really lead to complications with weight management and weight loss. Depression. Depression, just like stress, can cause changes in your hormone release and uptake, which can cause changes in how well you metabolize certain things and how quickly you can lose weight and how quickly you can gain weight. Your genetics. Now, genetics do have some play in terms of metabolism. If you come from a tall, slender family that has always been tall and slender, it is in your genes to be tall and slender. Whereas if you come from short, heavy-set people, well, your genes are setting you up to be short and heavy-set. Can you overcome those? Absolutely. But it is something that you're going to have to work with. Your age. Your age is not necessarily slowing down your metabolism, but it is slowing down everything else. Think about how quickly you could bounce back from staying up too late when you were young versus now you stay up too late and it's much harder to recover the next day. Or when you got cut and your cut would heal within 2 days and now it takes a week. This is because the whole uptake of nutrition and cellular repair and things like that take longer the older we get. We are all machines, and the older a machine becomes, the harder things have to work to be as efficient as they were when it was a brand new machine with brand new parts. Timing comes into play in terms of when are you eating, what are you doing, how are you managing your metabolism with your food and balance in that way. So let's talk about some metabolic boosters, things that can raise your metabolic rate. We have ones that can raise them in the acute setting or one that can raise them long term. The temporary raises can come from things like caffeine. Remember when we talked about calories and what a calorie is? It's that production of heat. Well, the faster your heart beats, the more blood it's circulating through your body. And remember, your heart is a muscle, and so it's contracting and using energy to do that, creating more heat. If you drink caffeine, it will temporarily raise your metabolism. Does this mean that you should be taking caffeine pills or drinking caffeine all day, every day? Absolutely not, because too much of a good thing can be harmful. And if you take on too much caffeine, it can have some negative effects on your heart. It's a muscle, we don't want it to get exhausted. Spicy food. Remember that whole heat production thing? If you're eating spicy food, it raises everything up inside and it causes a metabolic catalyst to occur, and this means that your metabolism is going to be raised. Now, eating spicy food does not necessarily mean you're burning so many calories you're making up for the food that you're eating. It just means you may be burning an extra 5 or 10 calories an hour, and sometimes we'll take whatever we can get. There are also certain drugs that can raise your metabolism. Most of them are against the law because they can cause you to keel over and die, and we don't want that to happen. Everybody remembers fen-phen and ephedra, okay? These things naturally raise your metabolism, but they're not really good for you because, again, that overworking of the heart is not healthy. Let's talk about our long-term metabolic boosters. These are things that can make your metabolism higher for a longer amount of time, not just momentarily while you're doing it. So if you can increase your muscle mass, you're going to have a higher metabolism. By increasing your muscle mass, you increase the amount of energy you need in a given day to maintain what you currently have. we all have this thing that we call a basal metabolic rate. That is calories that you burn just by existing, by your heart beating every second that it beats, by the transpiring of gases in your lungs and things like that, the maintenance and the blood flow of your cells and your muscles and your fat and everywhere else. The more muscle cells you have, the more energy required to maintain them. Regular exercise. Your metabolism is always going to be chasing homeostasis. This means if I exert a regular amount of calories every day, my body is going to raise my metabolic rate to match that, so it's in a homeostatic position. So if you're exercising, regularly burning an extra 500 calories a day, eventually you're going to raise your metabolism by 500 calories. This is why athletes tend to lose weight on their days off, because they work out so much, so often, so hard, and burn these huge amount of calories. Their bodies get used to that normal daily expenditure. On days when they're not exercising, they're going to come close to burning that normal daily expenditure. However, they typically don't eat as much food as they would on a day when they're training, and therefore they have this huge calorie deficit, and they can tend to lose a few pounds on their day off. You want to make sure you're getting in adequate intake. Starving yourself and creating a huge calorie deficit by not taking in food and moving too much is not a healthy thing to do, because again, your body is expecting food to be coming in, and if food doesn't come in, it is going to slow that metabolic rate so that it doesn't starve and expire before it has to. Regular intake and breakfast. Breakfast is absolutely 100% the most important meal of the day. The quicker to waking up you can eat it, the better, because when you go to sleep, different hormones and things come out that tell your body it's time to repair. During repair, your metabolism will slow down. At the end of the repair cycle, you want to wake your metabolism up and say, hey, start moving the way I'm moving. And the only way it knows to do that is if your lovely friend insulin shuts off those sleepy hormone productions. The only way you get insulin to come out is by putting some sugar into your mouth and making an insulin response happen. I usually recommend breakfast be at least 75 to 150 calories. However, there are lots of studies that support bigger breakfasts lead to less consumption throughout the day and people feeling fuller and having more energy. So, let's talk about the blood sugar tango. You don't want to have tons of fuel at one time. So when you eat, your body starts absorbing those nutrients and breaking them down and sending them where they need to go. Regular intake will mean that you are consistently putting food in as it's being used. You are using energy all day long. You don't just use energy when you exercise, and you don't just use energy right after breakfast, right after lunch, and right after dinner. You're using energy in between. And so if you think about your metabolism kind of like a campfire, you want to kindle that campfire all day. If you let that campfire burn down to where it's pretty much just ashes and embers, and then you drop a whole bunch of logs on it, well, the fire's going to go out. Same thing when we're speaking metabolically, okay? If you put too much in at once, it's going to take what it needs, and once it's taken what it needs, it's going to put the rest into the only unlimited storage space we have, and that is fat. So you are constantly taking in what you need and putting the rest into fat. If you only take in what you need every several hours, then you're going to reduce the amount of fat storage you are promoting. Protein is sent where needed, and fat is sent where needed. Again, when they're exhausted all their necessary functions, they're going to be sent into fat storage. So what does the tango mean? Well, the tango, kind of like we were saying, is we put food in, we take it out. And so if I'm putting a bunch of food in and it's an excess and it goes to fat storage, well then when my blood sugar drops, I start turning to my fat and protein stores and breaking those down and pulling them back out because I didn't have food coming in. The problem here is that the easiest storage access point is going to be my protein stores. So if I eat a large amount of food that I don't need and I don't eat for 6 or 7 hours, when my blood sugar drops, that fat storage is going to stay put, and I'm going to go after that protein storage. And that's not what I want, because remember, more muscle mass means a higher metabolism for me. The last thing I want to do is tear down my muscle mass. I want to get in and get that fat storage. One of the best ways I can do that is exercise, but also keeping that regular intake. So let's talk about metabolic evolution. A lot of people like to blame their genetics and their family and saying, you know, we've just evolved to become heavier people and heavier creatures and whatever. This is not really true. And, you know, thousands of years ago, there was no McDonald's, there wasn't a Starbucks on every corner, there wasn't this excessive food availability. And so your metabolism thought of things in terms of caveman thinking. Are you a hunter or are you a nester? This is very disturbing to some women, because if you think about men dieting versus women dieting, they lose weight much faster than most women do. Why? Because metabolically, evolutionarily speaking, women are meant to be nesters, which means we are going to keep more fat storage and hold on to our calories much closer than men who are expected to be hunters. And so we are designed to make sure that we have enough fat to provide for families and create babies. This is not trying to be a political thing. We're just saying, metabolically speaking, that's how we are designed. So your metabolism during a time of famine is going to hold on to your fat calories that much more tightly than a male's would. For example, if I am at a 500 calorie deficit for my day trying to create weight loss, my body perceives that as a time of famine because I am in a deficit of calories. Therefore, my body is going to let go of my protein stores, i.e. my muscles, and hold on to my fat stores tight. If I'm a male and I'm in a time of famine, my body thinks, well, I still have to go out and run from bears and hunt down animals and all kinds of things like that and carry them home. I'm the hunter. So it goes into more of a protein-sparing fast, which means it's going to go after a male's fat storage much quicker than a female, and it's going to preserve the male's muscle mass because the muscles are what's necessary for them to do their daily functioning as cavemen. However, there is a loophole here, because sometimes the caveman dies and the cave woman has to step up and take charge of her family, and she's got to go do the hunting and gathering. In that case, a female's metabolism will also shift to this protein-sparing metabolism. Well, how do we make that loophole happen? Well, you start exercising and you start lifting weights and doing things that are consistent with a hunter's daily activities. Especially the weight training part, because again, activating those muscles makes a metabolism think I'm going to need them, and therefore in a time of a fast or a famine, it will turn to the fat stores and it will spare those muscles because it thinks I need to hold on to those because Lord knows the next time I'm going to have to run away from a bear. Alright, so let's talk about fad diets and why do fad diets work. Back in the 70s and the 80s, sugar became the enemy. You remember the Sugar Busters books, things like that. Everybody wanted to stay away from sugar. This is also coming back. I'm sorry, that was the 80s and the 90s. This is coming back right now too. A lot of people are having the no white diet and things like that. Any kind of refined products are going out the window. In the 70s and 80s, we had the no more fat. Everything became fat-free. When we took the fat out of everything, we had to put the flavor back in, so we put sugar in there. That's why sugar became the enemy. In the 2000s, carbs. Carbs just became the enemy. We don't want to eat carbs. There's also things like the magic pill or the cleanse or whatever that makes you lose tons of weight, and the fad diets like the cookie diet or the cabbage soup diet, or insert any individual food item here and you can lose weight. Well, why do these things work? This is what they're really saying. Eliminate any food group and you will eat less calories. If I tell you that you can only eat cupcakes and you're going to lose weight, that sounds really appealing up front. Wow, cupcake diet. I want to go on that. Have you ever tried to eat nothing but cupcakes for more than 2 days? Eventually, you're going to get sick of cupcakes and you're not going to eat anymore. And when you stop eating, you're going to have a huge calorie deficit and you're going to lose weight. Same thing when you're eliminating carbs or you're eliminating sugar or you're eliminating fat. you are eliminating a large portion of your calories, and by doing so, you are therefore going to lower your calorie intake and you're going to lose weight. Not necessarily in a healthy way, because we need fat and we need carbohydrates and we need protein and things like that in our diet, and by eliminating a food group, you are not creating a balanced diet and you are actually hurting your metabolism. Take this laxative, you'll become dehydrated and weigh less for a few days. That's most of your cleanses and most of your natural weight loss supplements. Chances are they are very packed with laxatives or natural ingredients that are laxatives. For example, the Master Cleanse that's really popular in Hollywood with the lemonade and the cayenne pepper and the maple syrup, all of which are natural laxatives. This is fine if you want to get rid of all the healthy bacteria that live in your gut and you want to learn how many tiles are on your bathroom floor, because you're going to be sitting there for quite some time being able to count exactly how many tiles you have. So, is this healthy? No, because really all it's doing is dehydrating you, and you can change your weight up to 5 pounds in either direction simply by either becoming overhydrated or dehydrated. So that's not true weight loss. You're not losing any calories or any fat in that sense. You are simply sucking all the water out of your body, and therefore the scale shows you a different number, and you may be able to suck in a little more, but you're certainly not going down any dress sizes permanently. Other supplements are by this appetite suppressant, and you will eat less calories. Most of your diet supplements out there that are appetite suppressing are totally loaded with caffeine. Caffeine is a natural appetite suppressant. There are also things on the market right now like Hoodia and things like that that can suppress your appetite. This is not a very good idea considering that there's no regulation over them and we don't know how unsafe they actually are. And then again, kind of like my cupcake diet, eat this one food item until you're sick of it and won't eat anything else, and therefore you eat less calories. All of these types of diets are, I want a piece of a multi-billion-dollar business. If there were a magic fix out there, we would all know about it. None of them are sustainable, and none of them actually teach you how to eat real foods in the everyday world. Okay, so we're talking about I have a slow metabolism. Well, your metabolism is constantly striving to reach homeostasis. So if you do a fad diet, chances are you're slowing down your metabolism, because most fad diets bring you down to between 600 and 1,000 calories a day. That is way too little of food. And if you're not eating enough that your body doesn't think it's in a major time of famine, your body is going to keep chasing that. So if I eat 600 calories for a month, within that month, my metabolism is going to drop down to only burning around 1,600 calories. This is what also creates plateaus when you're dieting. We never want you to go too low on your calorie intake. We want you to go higher on your calorie burn. So become more physically active, become more daily activity active, so walking the dog, chasing the kids, doing dishes and housework, gardening on a regular basis. Because the more calories you burn, the more you can eat, and once you reach your goal weight, you can continue eating that large amount of calories and not be stuck with forever having to eat 600 calories a day or else gain weight. When you're aging, it also becomes harder for you to maintain muscle mass. A 20-year-old male versus a 50-year-old male, the 20-year-old can build muscle much quicker by going to the gym and spending less time in the gym and lifting the same heavy weights and reps, versus the 50-year-old man who has to dedicate a lot more time and energy to the gym to build as much new muscle as the young person. Again, the older your machine gets, the less efficient it becomes at creating new tissue and things of that nature. So therefore, it's not that your metabolism is really slowing down, it's more you're not going to have as much muscle mass. Muscle keeps your metabolism high, so you just have to work that much harder to keep your muscles up at this higher amount so that you can continue with this higher metabolic rate. Another issue with this is not just that you have to work harder and longer, but the older you get, the more barriers to physical activity you have. Back when you were 20-something, you probably didn't have a full-time job, 3 kids, a husband, and a dying mother or something. Now you do, and this takes on your time, and it takes on your energy levels and everything else, and you need to be able to find ways to fit in your physical activity that maybe are a little less conventional than back in the day when you could just go to the gym and work out or go for a 20-minute run down the street. Vitamin and mineral absorption also declines. So this is why most of your senior vitamins have more of your vitamins and minerals in them, especially when we're speaking metabolic vitamins like your B vitamins and things like that, because I'm not able to absorb them as efficiently from my gut and my intestines, and so therefore I need more of them to be able to absorb more of what I need. What can I do to raise my metabolism? The best way is to go the lifestyle changing way, and that is you get more regular physical activity. You want to get aerobics, you want to get resistance training. The aerobics keeps your heart nice and strong and helps you in terms of burning fat and weight loss. Your resistance training also helps you in terms of fat and weight loss, not as much in the moment, but more after the fact. And also because it builds muscle mass, which has more of a long-term metabolic increase. Activities of daily living, again, talking about gardening, walking the dog, doing whatever you can, take the stairs. Even if it's just one flight of stairs, take the stairs, and that is a great daily physical activity that you can incorporate with no time at all. Eat your small, frequent meals. 200 to 400 calories at one setting is pretty sufficient if you're going to eat 2 to 4 hours later. I never recommend you consume more than 600 to 1,000 calories in one setting because it's just too much for your body to take on, and you're really promoting that fat storage. You want to eat complete and balanced meals. Nutrients interact with each other and help with their absorption and digestion and processing, so you want to have as much of them together at the same time. Make sure every meal has colorful vegetables and carbohydrates and protein so that you can create this synergistic effect of all your nutrients working together. And make sure that you have good nutrient timing. Think about that during the day you're very active. Well, carbohydrates are the best energy for activity, so you may want to have a more carbohydrate-heavy breakfast versus dinner time when you're about to go to bed and you're going to do cellular repair and things like that. Having protein before you go to bed can help with that. And so kind of thinking about when you're timing your foods and how they match up with your normal activities. Okay, so when we talk about weight loss and weight management, we need to think about what the bottom line is. And the bottom line is calories in, calories out. You stay the same. If you are burning more calories than you're eating, you're going to lose weight. If you're eating more calories than you're burning, you're going to gain weight. That weight gain can be good or it can be bad. Depends on how much you're working out and the types of foods you're taking in for that overconsumption. When we talk about calories, a lot of people get kind of lost in terms of, well, what is a calorie? Well, a calorie is the unit of heat equal to the amount of heat required to raise the temperature of 1 kilogram of water by 1 degree Celsius at 1 atmosphere pressure. So that clears everything up, right? Of course not. What it really is saying is calories equal heat. And the more you can produce heat, the more calories you're going to burn. Now, when we think about calories in terms of when I was saying what types of calories you're bringing in, we have what we consider empty calories and quality calories. Therefore, even though a calorie is a calorie is a calorie, and if I have a 60-calorie apple and I have a 60-calorie cupcake, my body is still going to interpret that as 60 calories of intake. However, the apple is going to be a higher quality calorie versus the cupcake, which is going to be an empty calorie. So what's the difference there? Well, the difference is that a quality calorie provides other nutrition with it. Remember when we first talked about the macronutrients that are calorie contributing? Well, along with those, we have the micronutrients that are not calorie contributing, but they're still essential for life. And we want those to be involved with our calorie consumption as much as possible. When I eat an apple, I'm getting fiber and vitamins and minerals and all sorts of good stuff. When I eat a cupcake, I'm not getting much nutrition there. Therefore, the apple is a higher quality calorie. Well, then we start thinking about what about calorie density. And more often than not, your higher quality calories are going to be a lower caloric density. For example, broccoli. 1 cup of broccoli is about 25 calories. You can eat 10 cups of broccoli and only eat 250 calories. However, French fries, 1 French fry is about 25 calories. So I can eat a small French fry, and I'm not talking the new small that's actually like a large. I'm talking the kitty size, and it's going to be about 250 calories. This is thinking in terms of what's going to fill you up more. Well, obviously, 10 cups of broccoli, you're going to be pretty stuffed. A small French fry, not so much. So we need to think about not only the quality of the calories, but the density of the calories that we are consuming. When we eat high-fat foods, remember that fat has 1 gram, 9 calories. It is naturally a calorie-dense product, okay? So if I eat anything that's high in fat, I can expect that to be a more calorie-dense food. This is where a lot of people can get in trouble, especially when you start thinking about, well, it's good for me, therefore I should be able to eat it as much as I want. Well, here's the problem. Do you want to be healthy? Do you want to lose weight? Or do you want to do both? I can eat low-calorie foods that are really nutritious for me, and I can lose weight because I'm taking in less calories than I'm burning. I can eat high-calorie foods that are highly nutritious for me, and I can gain weight because I'm taking in more calories than I'm consuming. One of these really common mistakes is with whole wheat bread. Whole wheat bread is really, really good for you, especially when you start looking at like the 9-grain bread that has all the nuts and seeds and fiber and all kinds of good stuff in it. That's wonderful for your heart health, for your colon health, for your general health. However, most of these types of breads have up to 150, 180 calories per slice. You have to think about that calorie consumption. If you have 2 of those slices on one sandwich, you're already at a 300 or 400 calorie sandwich before you add the meat, the mayonnaise, the avocado, the lettuce, the tomato, anything like that. The average female is going to be consuming between 12 and 1,500 calories a day for weight loss. The average male is going to be 18 to 2,000. When you think about 400 calories in one setting just from the bread, seems a little bit not worth it. So you need to think about some of your higher quality calories that are lower density. This is why fruits and vegetables are so important, because you can have a large abundance of them and fill you up without getting that large calorie volume. So when we're looking at these two, which one is empty? Well, this can be one of those tricky ones, and a lot of people think that if they're drinking juice, they're doing a lot better for themselves than they actually are. Yes, the soda is the empty calories, and the juice, if it is actual juice and it's not juice product or has less than 5% juice or whatever, then it actually has some nutritional value to it. However, if you're going to go after juice, I would much rather you eat the actual fruit. It's going to be less calories, more filling, more fiber, and more of the nutrients that are intended to be in there. Juice, 4 ounces is 60 calories. That's about this big of a cup. It's really calorically dense, and so you need to watch out, because even compared to the soda, they have a similar amount of sugars and calories when you go ounce for ounce in a serving. Now, what's the difference in the density and the quality? Again, looking at the fact that the quality calories, which is obviously the whole wheat ham sandwich with the apple and the milk, versus the taco, the quality calories are going to leave you much fuller because you get a lot larger volume of food versus the taco. But it is a calorie game, and so you need to think about, if I want a taco and I'm going to go crazy until I get my taco, sometimes it's okay to have a taco. You just need to remember that calorically speaking, you may not get as large of a meal, and you may not be as full going into your next meal when you sacrifice 220 calories on a taco versus 250 calories on a full meal. So let's talk about the food guide pyramid. Recently we had a change to more of the food plate. And when you think about the plate, I like to recommend my plate method, which is every time you sit down for a meal, half of your plate should be vegetables, a quarter of your plate should be protein, and a quarter of your plate should be some type of complex carbohydrate. This way, you're going to be really full with not too many calories put into it. When we look at the food guide pyramid, you have the orange representing your whole grains, the green is your vegetables, the red is your fruit, and the yellow is your oils and fats. Notice, when we think about the percentage of our calories that should come from fat, it is higher than our protein. However, because it is so calorically dense, we can't get nearly as much in our pyramid to come from fats and oils. And also remember, even though it's good fat, doesn't mean it's not calorically dense. Almonds, for example, one small palmful of almonds is close to 100 calories. You cannot sit down and eat a whole jar of almonds and justify it by saying, it's good fat, it's good for me. Just because it's good for you doesn't mean it's not adding a huge bulk of calories to your daily intake. So let's talk about portion control. 1 tablespoon is going to be about the size of your thumb. Now this is not going to be your thumb all the way down to the bottom. It is just this part of your thumb. When we think about salad dressings, most of them are going to be about 100 calories per tablespoon, unless they're more of a vinegar-based salad dressing. When you use salad at home and you use salad dressing, the cap of your salad dressing is going to be about 1 tablespoon. So that's a nice easy way for you to just measure out your 2 tablespoons and take your salad. Otherwise, you want to make sure you're doing the fork method, which is dipping your fork in the dressing first and then getting your salad after you have dipped it in the dressing. This is going to save you on average 75% of your normal dressing consumption. When we think about meat, we consider a serving of meat to be about 3 ounces. I know that a lot of people will go and have a sandwich somewhere. Most of those sandwiches are going to be about 6 ounces of meat. That's okay for you to have 2 servings in one setting. If you're eating half a pound of meat or more in one setting, that's probably a little excessive, and you want to bring that back a little bit. A deck of cards, or about the palm of your hand, is going to be considered around 3 ounces. 3 ounces is going to have 21 grams of protein, and then the calories is going to vary based on how many grams of fat are in that. So again, depending on if you're having a very lean meat, running you about 35 calories per ounce, or you're having a very high fat meat running you around 120. 1 cup is considered a softball. For men, this is about the size of your fist. For women, it's about 1.5 of your fists. This is a really easy way when you're out to eat somewhere for you to decide how much of the side item they've given you is appropriate. You really should not consume more than a cup of any type of starch in one setting. So if you get something with mashed potatoes, for example, on the side, you can put your fist over your plate and cut away the excess and know that that counts as 1 serving, and that's going to be about 150 to 200 calories. This goes for things like mashed potatoes, rice, pasta, and any of your kind of slaws and things like that, potato salad, coleslaw, etc. Half of a cup is going to be about the size of a baseball, which is a little bit smaller than the woman's fist. This is, again, going to be about 80 calories of any type of a starch you have. This is also considered a serving of vegetables, so half a cup of cooked vegetables counts as one of your 5-a-day servings. And then 1 slice of bread shouldn't be larger than a CD case and about 1/4 to 1/2 inch in thickness. That's also going to run you about 80 calories for your standard piece of sandwich bread. If it's bigger than that, remember, that's more than 1 serving of your grains for the day. That's going to count more like 2. And so you need to kind of think in terms of how many servings am I supposed to have and how many am I getting at this one meal.